Imagine you are holding exactly $10,500. You want to invest it, right? But you've got to be smart about it and spread out your risk. Well, this is the exact real-life dilemma facing someone named Nancy. She has a high-stakes investment split to make, and she needs to get the math absolutely perfect to hit her financial goals.
So here's the deal. Nancy's looking at two different bonds. One gives her a 10% annual return, and the other yields 6%. She has $10,500 total to spread across them. But she doesn't just want, a random mix. She has a very specific target. She wants an exact overall return of 8.5% from the combination of these two bonds.
So the $10,000 question is, how much money does she put into the 10% bond, and how much goes into the 6% bond to get exactly 8.5%? By the end of this explainer, you are going to understand the concept of inverse matrices, the formulas behind them, and exactly how to use them to solve complex, real-life systems like Nancy's problem in literally seconds. Section 1, the matrix number 1 analogy. Now that we know the real-world problem we're solving, let's build the math foundation. I know matrix math can look kind of intimidating with all those brackets, but think of it through a super simple analogy. It actually acts a lot like basic arithmetic. Think about a regular number, like 2. If you want to multiply 2 by something to get 1, you multiply it by its inverse, right? Its reciprocal, which is 1/2. 2 times 1/2 equals 1. Well, the multiplicative inverse of a matrix is exactly the same concept. If you have a matrix A and you multiply it by its inverse, which we write as a to the power of -1, you get the matrix equivalent of the number 1, and we call that the identity matrix. And here is brilliantly what that looks like. The identity matrix, which we just call capital I, is a square matrix that has ones straight down the main diagonal, from the top left to the bottom right, and zeros absolutely everywhere else. Just like the number 1 in regular math, if you multiply any matrix by the identity matrix, you just get your original matrix back. It's almost like looking in a mirror. Now you might be wondering, and this is a great question I get all the time, does the order we multiply these matrices actually matter? The answer is a resounding yes. For two matrices to truly be inverses of each other, matrix A times matrix B must equal the identity matrix, and matrix B times matrix A must also equal the identity matrix. Both ways have to work. Reversibility is absolutely crucial here. Section 2, finding 2x2 matrix inverses. Okay, let's dive into the actual formula. How do we find this magical inverse matrix so we can actually use it? Let's start with the most common one, a 2x2 matrix containing elements A, B, C, and D. We have a brilliant, straightforward little formula for this. First, you calculate a specific number by multiplying the diagonal elements, A times D, and then you subtract B times C. Got that? Then, you look at your matrix and literally physically swap the positions of elements A and D. Next, you change the signs of elements B and C, so make them negative if they're positive and vice versa. Finally, you take that whole new matrix and multiply it by 1 over that number we calculated first, A times D minus B times C. But wait, let's pause for a second because this is super important. Look at that fraction we're multiplying by, 1 over AD minus BC. What happens if that bottom calculation, AD minus BC, equals exactly 0? This right here is a massive student pitfall. If AD minus BC is 0, you'd be dividing by 0, which, as we know, totally breaks the laws of math. So if that happens, the matrix simply has no inverse, period. We call this a singular matrix. It's a great reminder that not all square matrices are invertible. Doing this quick check right at the start tells you instantly if you can even proceed. Let's see this formula in action, right? Let's make it concrete. Take matrix A, with a top row of 1 and -2, and a bottom row of 2 and -3. First up, the denominator. 1 times -3 is -3. Subtract -2 times 2, which is -4. So -3 minus -4 gives us a +1. Since 1 over 1 is just 1, we don't even have to mess with any fractions. We just swap the 1 and the -3, flip the signs of the -2 and the 2, and boom, there's our inverse matrix. -3 and 2 on the top row, and -2 and 1 on the bottom. Easy, right? Section 3, the 3x3 metrics challenge. So now that we've got the 2x2 down, let's scale things up. What happens with a 3x3 matrix? Well, unfortunately, that neat little formula we just used, yeah, it goes out the window. We need a totally new strategy. For a 3x3, we use a technique called augmenting with the identity. Step 1, we write out our starting matrix, draw a vertical line, and put the identity matrix right next to it. Step 2, We perform a series of elementary row operations, things like multiplying a row by a constant or adding two rows together. Our ultimate goal in step 3 is to morph the left side into the identity matrix. Once we do that, whatever is sitting there on the right side is our brand new inverse. Here is exactly what that starting line looks like. You can clearly see our original 3 by 3 matrix on the left side of that dividing line in that beautiful identity matrix with its diagonal ones and zeros everywhere else, just sitting on the right. This is our starting block. And after grinding through those row operations, which I'll admit definitely takes a bit of patience, look at what happens. We forced the left side to become the identity matrix. Because of the rules of algebra, all the numbers on the right side have shifted and transformed into our prize, the fully calculated inverse matrix of our original 3 by 3. It's like a giant puzzle literally solving itself. Section 4. Solving systems with inverses. Okay, so we know what an inverse is and we know how to calculate it for 2 by 2 and 3 by 3 matrices. But how does this actually help us? Let's connect this back to real life and Nancy's investment problem. To solve a word problem using this method, we just need to extract 3 puzzle pieces and turn them into matrices. First is the coefficient matrix, which we'll call A. This just holds the numbers multiplying our variables. Second is the variable matrix, X, holding the unknowns we want to find, like the actual dollar amounts for the bonds. Third is the constant matrix, B. This holds our targets, so for Nancy, that's her total budget and her target yield. When we map this out, it looks exactly like this. Matrix A times matrix X equals matrix B. You guys, this is really just a sleek, highly organized way of writing a standard system of linear equations. It's the exact same math you've been doing for years, just wearing a slightly different outfit. And here is the ultimate algebraic cheat code. We start with A times X equals B. Our goal is to find X, right? So we just multiply both sides of the equation by the inverse of matrix A. Remember our analogy from the beginning? A matrix times its inverse equals the identity matrix, basically the number 1. So matrix A effectively cancels itself out on the left side, perfectly isolating our variable matrix X. So the solution to our entire system is simply the inverse of A multiplied by matrix B. That's it. I absolutely love this quote from the source material because it really grounds the whole concept. It says, "The only difference between solving a linear equation and a system of equations written in matrix form is that finding the inverse of a matrix is more complicated. However, the goal is the same, to isolate the variable." Think about it. You've been isolating variables since middle school algebra. We are doing the exact same thing today. We're just using a matrix inverse to do the heavy lifting for us. Which brings us right back to Nancy. We take her 10% and 6% bond rates to build matrix A. We put her $10,500 total and her 8.5% target into matrix B. We calculate the inverse of A using our 2 by 2 formula, multiply it by B, and instantly, literally instantly, matrix X reveals exactly how many dollars must go into each bond to guarantee her return. It's elegant, it's fast, and it works for sure every single time. Okay, before we wrap up, let's do a rapid-fire recap to lock this in. 1. A matrix multiplied by its inverse equals the identity matrix. 2. To find a 2 by 2 inverse, you use the AD minus BC formula. 3. For a 3 by 3, you've got to augment with the identity matrix and use row operations. And 4. You can solve any compatible linear system just by isolating the variable matrix, using the formula X equals A inverse times B. So you now have a seriously powerful new tool in your math toolkit. But let me leave you with a bit of a provocative thought here. What if I told you there was a way to solve these massive systems of equations without ever having to calculate an inverse matrix at all? No way, right? Well, what happens when we skip inverses entirely and use something called Cramer's rule instead? That is exactly what we are going to unpack in our next explainer, and trust me, you are not going to want to miss it. See you